So when I edited my videos, I actually noticed that I had shit posture in a lot of the clips, right? For example, when I was working, I sat like this. You can see, like, almost like this, like a fucking like an older person or some shit, right? And that's of course unacceptable. So if you catch me on that, like in the future, feel free to just call me out in the comments, like if you want to boost the fucking algorithm or whatever it's called, right? And you want to hold me accountable, because I'm gonna be working on that shit. Because I'm not gonna let the compound effect ruin my back or my neck or some shit, right? I'm gonna be like the old guy, but with posture like this instead of like this, right? Like all the elderly people, they literally walk like this, with their neck like a crane, like man, I'm not even sure what the fuck they're doing, right? So basically, just feel free to call me out if you want to, like, hold me accountable and boost the algorithm. So I'm actually considering bringing my own lunch in a lunchbox to school, right? Because the food that is in my school, like, we get free food in Sweden, right? In the schools, right? But it is absolute, like, it's garbage, man. Like, it's trash. It's fucking bakwas, as Hamza says. Like, it's honestly dog shit quality, as you fucking saw in the clip, right? And the things that I understand why it is dog shit, because they have a limited budget, right? And they don't necessarily care too much about the students' health, even though they might think they do, right? Or that they claim they do. But in reality, it's absolute dog shit quality food. So I might just have to start, like, bringing my own shit, to be honest. Isn't it beautiful, man? Of course it is. Green leaf. So I take walks in the local forest, like in my area, like once or a couple times a week, usually. And the main reason is that first of all, it helps me clear my brain and get rid of all the little overthinking thoughts in my brain, all the little mental splinters that is inside my brain, nagging inside of my brain. I can just walk and think for myself with nobody else to disturb me. Secondly, I can get a bunch of sunlight, because there are a bunch of health benefits with sunlight, right? So it's just another thing. And then thirdly, I just love being in nature, man. Like, I've always liked animals and wildlife and nature and stuff like that. So it's just a good time for me. And then lastly, also, walking is very, very natural for the human species. Like, we're not really supposed to sit on our fucking asses staring into our computer screens 12 hours a day. Of course not. So that's kind of where I have my little forest walks. So I got my first nosebleed on the boxing practice, right? And I'm actually very, very proud. You know, I was doing some sparring and I got my nose popped a few times. Like, you don't necessarily realize that you're bleeding from your nose, right? It just, when you look yourself in the mirror, you realize. But to be honest, I actually admired, like, what I saw in the mirror, like, because I looked like a warrior. You do when you're bleeding your nose because you've been punched in the face. And I'd never really, like, bled from my nose before. For some reason, I'm not really sure why, to be honest, because I had some instances where I definitely could have bled from my nose, but I'm not really sure why I didn't, to be honest. But I just think it's a great milestone towards success, right? Because, like, you learn through pain with everything. At least that's been true for me. One thing I realized lately is that I actually lose, like, a lot of water when I do my boxing practices, right? I lose, like, over kilo of water, right? So that's kind of why I try to just hydrate, like, a lot afterwards, because I'm just deprived of fucking water, because I've sweated it all out. And one good, like, measurement I use for how hydrated I am, like, if I need to drink more or if it's a good level, is the color of my piss, right? Hear me out. So if your piss is transparent, that's probably a good level to keep of like hydration, like how much water you're drinking. But if your piss is yellow or brown, then I would definitely recommend you start drinking more. Like at least that's what I'm doing, right? So reading before bed actually works very, very well for me, because it kind of makes my eyes tired in a sense, right? I read for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes or something, and it's not really that easy, like per se, to just read a book in comparison to like watching fucking TikTok or some bullshit, right? So it kind of tires my eyes out, and it greatly facilitates falling asleep, which I have struggled with a lot throughout the years. And there's no real stimulation like in reading, so my brain can unwind as well, right? Because if I'm up like staring into a screen, right, with all the stimulation in the world, how easy is it gonna be for me to fall asleep? It's gonna be extremely hard, right? So just common sense in my opinion, but that's one thing that's worked very well for me.